Let's talk about beliefs that will break your business. My name is Michelle Klein. I am the founder of Dogco Launch and the host of the Dogco Secrets YouTube channel and podcast. And today I want to talk a little bit about beliefs that I believe will absolutely break your business. All of the times that my business went from either feeling stuck and then unstuck, or I went to the next level, I got to the next place, I was able to get, to the next revenue level, any type of significant growth or change almost always came from a season where I was able to really deconstruct beliefs that I oftentimes didn't even realize I was carrying. These beliefs were things that were limiting me, things that were limiting the growth of my business. And I thought it might be helpful today to talk about beliefs that you may be aware of, you may not, but most likely are affecting your business, are maybe working against you. Putting some thought into and some thought around how those beliefs may be affecting the actions that you are taking in your business on a day-to-day basis. I wanted to pick this topic not only because it is so related to my growth journey in my business and how I've seen different beliefs and the deconstruction of different beliefs affect my growth as a business owner and just my overall success if we're looking at it from a metric standpoint. It's also because, so I work with a lot of companies. I do a lot of coaching, let's put it that way. And I'm on calls a lot and I'm working one-to-one with people. And a lot of the work that we end up doing ends up being around breaking beliefs that come up for them. And over time, as I've worked with more and more companies, I've been able to see beliefs that are really prevalent across our industry that I do believe limit business owners and limit business owners in this industry specifically. A unique business model. We do a very unique thing working with both humans and live animals. So I think it's really important to know what these beliefs are that may be affecting your business and affecting your success. So fun mental exercise for you as I am going through the content for tonight. I would encourage you to pick the inverse of whatever belief I state as a pathway you could take to grow your company. What do I mean by that? If I talk about how a limiting belief, so little sneak peek here, one of the limiting beliefs I want to talk to you about is this belief that if I grow my business, it will solve all the money problems. Like the problem is growth. There's just not enough scale. That's a fundamentally flawed belief system because if the numbers don't work on a micro level, they will not work on a macro level in this business model. Your labor costs are just too high and your expenses grow. I always believe this. Your expenses grow so disproportionately as your business increases because you just have to invest so much more into your business that growth doesn't solve it. Growth oftentimes actually will make cash flow issues worse if our micro money management is not set up to serve us. So we'll deconstruct that whole belief. I know I kind of just went down a side quest. So one way that you could apply the inverse of that is to say, okay, my path forward is to make my numbers work at a micro level, to make sure that every service is profitable for me and profitable enough to make sure my margins make sense. I'll probably do a whole video on that at some point because I think it's really, really important. So let's talk about 5 categories in which I see beliefs that come up very frequently that tend to break businesses. First category is going to be beliefs that owners carry about themselves. Second category is going to be beliefs that owners carry about their clients. Third category is business or beliefs that owners carry about this industry. Fourth is going to be beliefs that owners carry about their team and the people that they work with. And then fifth is going to be beliefs that owners carry about business, finances, and their service area. So let's dig in. Category 1, beliefs owners carry about themselves. So one thing that I see really prevalent with companies that I work with is oftentimes people in this industry came in because they saw an opportunity in their specific area to work with animals. Not all the time, sometimes people come in because they acquire a business. Sometimes they start a business knowing right away they're going to start hiring and scaling a team. But I would say more often the story that I come across is people who care about animals. They started working with friends, family, neighbors, coworkers. Maybe they got in a financial pinch and realized there was a lot of opportunity and this is something that they loved and that they could actually make money from. When they started their business, they started realizing, well, there's a lot of opportunity here and I think I could do this. And then they start hiring and growing a team. The amazing thing about that, and one thing I actually really love about this industry, is that the bar is low to enter just as far as capital, and you don't have to have this crazy thought out business plan to be able to go into pet care. The flip side of that, though, is oftentimes I work with people who have this, I feel like they feel a lot of imposter syndrome of it's like an accident that I'm here. It's an accident that, like, I'm not a real business owner. This just kind of happened. That is a belief that I recommend we leave, in 2024 maybe. One, if you're generating any type of revenue people pay you for, you are a business owner. Yay, congratulations. But also, if you employ a team and if you employ people that work under your brand within your business, if anybody's taxes are associated with you, let's put it that way, you are a business owner, you are an employer, and you are a boss and a leader. And my hope for this industry is that I see people step into that more confidently and more, because the more that you discredit that about your journey and discredit that about your business, the more you undercut not only your own success and the success of your team because you're not stepping in all the way as a leader because you don't believe that you are. But also, the more that will reduce the risk you're willing to take in your business, because really it fundamentally comes down to, I haven't stepped into this identity. I haven't accepted this belief about myself. That can be the hardest to deconstruct, also the absolutely most important and the most dangerous. That will subtly subvert you at every chance. So we want to step into that belief. I am an owner. I am a leader. I am an employer. I own a business. I run a business, and to follow that through. The other beliefs that I see related to how business owners believe about themselves is sometimes getting into this thought pattern of, I can't replicate my success. Maybe my success is behind me. I work with a lot of business owners that struggle with this mindset, especially post-pandemic. If you had a business that was, and you may struggle with this too, if you had a business that was really successful before the pandemic, and then the pandemic introduced a lot of challenges into maybe your revenue model, your staffing model, maybe it kind of messed up some of your metrics, maybe recovery has been slower and more difficult than you expected. We can get into this really negative place of, my success is behind me. That was former me. Maybe that was an accident. Maybe it just kind of happened. I can't replicate it. And I would really encourage you to fight against that belief if you see that coming up for you. The fact that you did it once means that you can do it again. You have a proven roadmap of what you did before that we just need to sit down, replicate, and figure out, what doesn't fit in the new industry, how things are now, but you have done this before. Yes, things are different now, but that doesn't mean you are different. You are the same type of person that can do things successfully. So if that ever comes up for you, let's leave that behind us moving forward. Second category of beliefs that I see are going to be beliefs that owners tend to form and carry around their clients. The biggest one that I see come up is this belief that can kind of infiltrate on what you need to stay connected to or not connected to in your business. This one I really get. There were certain areas of my business it was really hard for me to let go of. And I realized at its core, that came from a belief that if my clients didn't work with me directly, they would not receive value. And I really had to wrestle with that because I knew deep down I didn't believe that was actually true. I had people on my team that were much better at their jobs than I was when I was a walker. I was dog walking specific, but I was also the business owner. So my phone was going off and I was trying to respond to a client text in between visits and had to hop on a phone call to talk to a client. I wasn't as focused and present as my team was able to be. So I was really confused when this belief started coming up for me, especially related to things like meet and greets or things like invoicing. And I realized a lot of that had to do with more so fear of what it would take to delegate those things well, and realizing that there were certain things I didn't know about structuring and handing off my business at the time, more so than a real reality that no one would be able to, like a false reality that no one would be able to provide the level of service or connection or care that I did. I realized that wasn't true, and that belief had been almost a distraction from being able to see what the core problem really was, which is I don't know how to do this. So deconstructing that belief was really necessary to being able to go to the next level, which was it's a skill deficit, and that we have to figure out, and that I can figure out, but it is a figure outable thing. Another belief that I see come up is a belief that clients will never accept a team-based model, that your clients would never be able to navigate or move to that. By team-based, I mean a model where anybody on your team could work with any of your clients. Now, my caveat to this point, if you work with a group of clients that if you target very reactive dogs in your care, the team-based model may not work for you. But, let's assume in this conversation, I am not referring to dogs that are aggressive or anxious or stressed, or where the animals themselves would not respond well. I do work with clients that struggle to believe that they could successfully implement a model that would be successful with their clients, where they don't have like one team member or the owner themselves doing all of the service delivery. I do believe that this is a limiting belief. Now, I am perfectly fine if a company chooses to still operate on a primary or secondary sitter model. I have no qualms with that when it's an intentional choice. Where I think it undercuts us is when we believe that it just can't be done to do team-based. I ran a team-based model successfully with 25 team members for years, and we operated successfully. We grew. Did that mean that every client was a fit for that model? No, absolutely not. But it didn't mean that that was something the business couldn't do to succeed and grow. So you may still choose to do a primary, secondary sitter model or walker model, but I would encourage you, if that's coming up as a belief, in my experience, it's not true. And then the last thing I wanted to speak to clients and beliefs that owners can carry about their clients is any type of negative interpretation around clients maybe not moving forward, or clients not signing up for your services, clients who fall off that you haven't seen in a while. And I work with so many businesses where it can just be really tough to not personalize that and to take it personally. When we're throwing our heart and soul into our business, and maybe we email a client and ask how they're doing and could we get you on the schedule, and they don't respond. The very likely reason that person never responded to you is that they are busy and they saw it and they forgot. And we are so quick to go to, a very negative place with any type of interaction. Another way I see business owners do this, and I'm of course guilty of this too, is when it comes to new client lead flow. And we are trying to get a client to move forward, and they just aren't. They aren't booking the meet and greet. They're not signing up in the software. And oftentimes we can interpret that as a really hard boundary, like a rejection, when ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, how often have you been like about to check out online and realized, oh, I don't have my credit card. Probably should wait until next week because of XYZ reason. Like there's so many things that can disrupt a process when somebody is like signing up for something. And we can be really quick to ascribe malice to something that is just accident. So we want to make sure that, if there are beliefs forming around our client base, around our clients to us, that we hold those at bay, because they don't really serve us if we carry them. Are you a pet care professional that wants to scale your business in 2025? My name is Michelle Klein, and I am the founder of Dogco Launch. I'm so excited to tell you about the Dogco Business Summit, a conference dedicated exclusively to scaling pet care businesses, which will be in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, September 26th through the 28th. If you are looking to scale your pet care business this year, this is the conference for you. I have pulled together the very best people I can find to help inform our industry, to educate our industry, and to help businesses get to the next level. With speakers like Jamie Troll and Joey Coleman, you are sure to take home really actionable information to put into your pet care business to help you grow. Tickets are on sale now at dogcosummit.com. Get yours before it's gone. All right, third category, beliefs that owners carry about the industry. So our industry has changed so much in the last 6 years. I mean, honestly, the last decade, like software came on the scene and a lot of like streamlining automations. A lot of companies started hiring that weren't previously, and we saw team-based models coming into the market. We saw more like branded professional companies coming into the space, which is so good and so cool. And a belief that I see companies form and struggle with, especially post-pandemic, is just this idea that there is too much competition to succeed. And that is just not something I buy. That's not something I'm bought in on. Is there more competition in your market? Probably. We are in a time where there is more of a focus on pet-centric industries than there ever has been before. And there's more of a focus of people starting businesses in the pet care industry. But what I want people to understand is that that is because there's a growth in our industry, that the competition you're seeing is directly proportional to the increase in opportunity. The pet care industry is projected to double in the next 10 years, I think 7 years actually. It's not a long time. And by double, I mean go from like 250 billion to 500 billion. Like it's not a small number. There is opportunity. More so than ever, people own pets. More so than ever, people humanize their pets and the needs of their pets and are willing to spend on spending categories like their pets because they see it as essential. So if you're struggling with this, maybe like a little bit of a defeatist mindset of there's just too much competition, I believe, yes, there's competition, but that also means there's so much opportunity. Because if there wasn't, or if there isn't, then you just need to focus on hanging in there long enough for the competition to die out. Because if the opportunity truly isn't there, they're not going to make it. It's going to become whoever stays the longest wins. So, you can focus on that strategy, but if all of y'all are still in business, that means there are clients to be had and work that you can win. Next thing that I see business owners or beliefs that business owners carry about the industry, the market cannot sustain my prices or my business. It's really interesting because I work with a lot of businesses that are in the same market, and it's not uncommon that even within the same week, I'll have a conversation with one company in the area really struggling with, I don't know if I can raise my prices $2, and I'll work with another company either in the same area or very close to it that is priced $15 a service above what they are priced at. And the company with the lower prices is telling me it can't be done. I would never say this in the call because I'm going to protect all the companies I work with and I'm not going to cross share. But it's like, no, it can be. I've seen it done. So like there's opportunity. I know I keep coming back to this, and that doesn't mean we're not going to have to pivot, adapt, shift to actualize this opportunity. But it is possible, and the market can sustain your prices and your business. Finally, this is a tough one. A belief that I see owners carry about the industry is sometimes an over focus on industry specific certifications versus a focus on really understanding your clients and messaging and marketing that's going to appeal to them. I don't think this will be a forever thing, but the outside world, the non-pet care world, Many of them do not know about the inside of our industry. Why would they? They have a dog, they love their dog, they want their dog walked. And the company that's going to win that business most often is not going to be the company that has all of these professional certifications to tout, though that may be important to be part of the service they provide. But it's going to be the company or the person that convinces that pet parent, I understand what you need, and that takes the time to build trust with them and to show them I am the right person to work with your dog. The certifications can help. They can help with that trust building. They can show that, we've invested in being the trustworthy person. They can show that we are worthy of that business. But it's not going to be enough. We have to figure out how to bridge all the investment that we do into what the client really cares about, which is their pet and their pet. So at a minimum, we need to translate why those certifications matter. But I would also say we have to focus on messaging that really resonates with our clients. All right, beliefs that owners carry about your team. So a few things that I see come up, beliefs that have formed around can't pay enough to attract the people that are going to work for, or how do I put this? I can't pay enough to stay staff, to retain staff. That is not true. There are a lot of things that you can bring as an employer to your team that may or may not have to do with pay. That does not mean that pay is not important. The difficulty in this industry, though, is going to be the staffing model and what we can afford to pay. So, focusing on other ways that you can be a really incredible employer is still going to attract people. And it's going to attract people where maybe they aren't as focused on money in this season. They're focused on jobs that they love, jobs that they enjoy. And so there are still ways for us to attract talent, even if it is difficult for us to pay top tier premium pricing for the services that we offer. All right, final category, beliefs that owners carry about business and finances in their service area. So I gave you a sneak peek of this first one. A belief that I see really, really prevalent is this idea that growing will solve money problems. It won't. In fact, most often it will make them worse. So this business model, it is predicated on scale to an extent if you have a team. Average healthy profit margins are going to be somewhere between 20 and 30% in a team-based business. Labor is going to be somewhere in the 50% margin, leaving 20 to 30% for all the expenses that you're going to incur, your insurance, your equipment, your software, things like that. If your profit margin is under 20% and you are feeling really pinched for cash flow, you are going to incur more expenses as the company continues growing. I would highly recommend that if your net profit is under that 20% mark, or just you are not earning enough on the business to survive, we really want to figure out how to make that work at all levels of the business, because your expenses are going to just continue to grow with the business model. So I would highly encourage you, let's not look at growth as the savior solution. Oftentimes there's work we need to do in the finance of our business today, not down the road, to make it make sense. Next belief that I see business owners carry about this, kind of like the miscellaneous et al category. So beliefs that I see business owners carry. One is that my service area is different than other people's. Like it has challenges nobody else has, so therefore I can't succeed. I fundamentally do not believe this is true. I do believe that different service areas have different challenges. Some service areas are dealing with a lot more traffic. Some service areas are dealing with their service area is way more spread out, so they have to account for mileage and driving. Some service areas are just going to have access to different talent pools for hiring. But I genuinely believe that every business has difficulty and struggle with their service area. It is just different. So if you're getting into this mindset of like, there's something that is just not overcomable for me, Every business has something that they are working to overcome. And I hope that feels hopeful, not discouraging, because I really think that is a good thing. It means it is figure outable. And then final belief I want to deconstruct is just this idea of I can't make good long-term money in this business. Absolutely untrue. I work with lots of business owners that are paying themselves six figures plus, 150 to 200, 200 plus. It is absolutely possible. And not only that, your business, as long as we build it with this in mind, is a sellable asset. So not only can you return off of the cash flow in your business in a short-term basis, you can sell your business at some point and then actualize that cash flow for a much longer period of time, like actualize more return for your efforts for a much longer period of time. You can make good money in this business. You can make livable money. You can make great money. And I really want people to believe that. I want people to pay themselves well, because otherwise we will burn out. And at some point it will not feel worth it. So going back to kind of full circle where we started in this podcast, if we want different outcomes, we have to put in different actions. And oftentimes the beliefs that we have picked up and carried along the way, they inform the actions that we take. If I believe that I can't make good money in this business, then why would I look at my finances? Why would I look at my pricing? I'm just going to accept that as reality when it's not. It can be changed, but our beliefs are going to inform the actions that we take. So I hope that there are beliefs that came up for you in this podcast that you were challenged to re-examine. If I didn't mention a specific belief that you maybe have that you feel may be holding you back or limiting your success, I would encourage you to take the time to really examine that belief and to examine not only if you genuinely at the end of the day believe it's true. I would look for any cases that you can see that break that belief. Is there anyone that has overcome whatever particular belief on something you can't do, for example? And I would encourage you to really examine, does this serve me? Does it serve me to have this belief and to carry this belief long term? As you know, if you want to change your business, we have to start with your beliefs. So I would encourage you to do that. That is what I had for you today. Thanks for tuning in to episode 2, and I will talk to you guys soon.